Hello everyone, welcome to the Bagmaker's Workroom. I'm Chris. In today's episode, we are going to look at how we can take inspiration from designer handbags and translate them into bags for ourselves. Most important a lot of times with bags is proportions. And when we look at a bag in a photo, it's hard to take those proportions and translate it to a bag that we have or a pattern that we have. So I'm going to show you how to look at a photo, take measurements from that photo, and then apply it to your pattern. But before we get started, welcome to my workroom. Inspiration is all around us. Sometimes all you have to do is look out the window, look at the green grass, the blue sky, and see how the colors mix. Nature is fantastic at showing us different color combinations and how we can use them in our garments and our accessories. So make that one of your inspiration sources, is nature. Now, of course, we always like to look online, we always like to shop, and that's a fantastic way to get ideas for bags, garments, and other things. And sometimes we see a photo, maybe it's of a skirt or a shirt, and let's just use a skirt as an example. We see a model and we see this skirt on her, and it is just a gorgeous skirt, and we think, wow, that's just so beautiful. And you go out and you find some fabric and that's similar, you make the skirt, you put it on, and it doesn't look good. Why doesn't it look good? Well, proportion. Proportion is such an important thing when it comes to garments and accessories. If the skirt on the model was knee length, and it ended up going to calf length on you, that might be the very reason why you don't particularly care for it now that you've made it and put it on your own body. It's different proportion. But that model might be 6 feet tall, and maybe you're only 5 feet tall, or 5'2", or 5'5". So how do you determine exactly how long to make that skirt for you? So we're going to apply those same things to bags. If you have a bag and maybe there's a front flap on a bag, which is what we're going to look at in a minute, how do you know how far down that flap needs to be on your bag if you look at a photo? So we're going to go over to the table, we're going to look at a photo, and I'm going to show you how to measure it out. There is some math involved in this, but it's okay, don't worry, I'll walk you through every step, and I think that when we're done you're going to see how really simple this process is. Okay. To do this, you're going to need a picture of a bag, something you printed off your printer. Doesn't matter how large or small you printed it, you just need something printed out. You're going to need a tape measure, some kind of marking pen or a pen to write down the measurements, and then a calculator. Okay, let's take a look at this bag. This is a Launer bag, and this is a bag that Queen Elizabeth carried. This is one of her favorite bags. It's a company over in London, and they just make these gorgeous, gorgeous bags. So the actual cut of this bag looks fairly basic. It's probably just a box bottom, and you can look online and get the measurements for the bag. Everything's in centimeters because it is made by a company out of London, and this is 20 centimeters tall by 23.5 centimeters wide by 10 centimeters deep. So what that translates to in imperial is roughly 8 inches tall, 9.25 inches wide, and about 4 inches deep. Okay, we know that's the bag. We know that those measurements are what our final bag wants to be. So you're going to create a pattern, or you're going to find a pattern. So many pattern makers have patterns very similar to this. That is roughly those measurements. So let's say you went out and you found a pattern that the bag was 8 inches tall and 9.5 inches wide. And maybe it's 3 inches deep instead of 4, no problem. We mostly want to look at the front of the bag and make sure we get this flat proportion the same. We also want to take a look at these little cutouts. So how far down is this cutout? How far in is this cutout? And then how far down is this other flap? We also want to look at the total width of the flap. So on our photo, we're going to measure those things. So get your measuring tape, and I'm just going to put it right across the top here. And I can see that the total on this picture, the total measurement across the top is 4 inches. So I'm just going to write down top 4 inches. Doesn't matter what it is in real life, we care about this picture. Then I'm going to measure the actual width of this little area here, and that is 3 inches. So this bottom section, I'm going to put bottom of flap, 3 inches. Then I want to measure the width of the entire bag, or excuse me, the height of the entire bag. So the height of this bag is 3.5 inches in this photo. The height of the flap, now I can see that this flap folds over from this photo. So it appears as though right about here, and I'm going to draw this in so you can see it. This is the top of the flap, and this is the part of the flap that comes down. So I want to measure from where the top of the flap is on the front to where it comes down. I don't care about the top. The top has something to do with the depth. So basically from this point to this point is depth. I'm worried about this length right here. So I'm going to measure down from the entire flap is 1.25 inches. And then just this section right here is, put it on the 1 here, it is about 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to say short section is 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so now we have all of the measurements here, and we need to figure out percentages. So the width of the top of the bag is 4 inches. The bottom is 3 inches. So if I take 3 inches and we divide that by 4 inches, we're going to get 0.75. So basically 75%. Okay, 0.75 or 75%. So the bottom of this bag is 75% of the width of the top of the bag. So in real life, you take your pattern, your measurement, your flap, and let's say your flap all the way across is 9.25. You're going to take 75% of that number, which is 6.9375. So I would round that up. And I would say that from here to here is 7 inches in real life. From the entire width of the flap is 9.25. Now, again, you're taking your pattern piece and you're measuring your pattern piece. And you're saying, okay, my flap in real life is 9.25 inches. I want, after I cut out my little triangle or my little squares, I want the bottom part of this flap to be 7 inches, 75% of the total flap. So we're going to apply those same things to the length or the height. So I know, again, the entire height from this point to this point is 3.5 inches. Excuse me, the entire height of the bag was 3.5 inches. So that's this whole thing, 3.5. And the entire flap, so from here to here, was 1.25 or 1.25 inches. So if I take 1.25 inches and I divide it by 3.5, I'm going to get 35,714, so I'm going to say 35%. So I want my flap to be 35% of the total height of my bag. So in real life, let's say our bag is 8 inches. I'm going to take 8 inches times 35%, and I'm going to get 2.8. So you could either make it I'd probably make it 2.75 because you want to round to the closest 1/4 inch. So my flap, my real life bag, from the part where it folds over the front to the bottom is going to be 2.75 inches if my entire bag is 8 inches tall. So now we want to figure out from here to here, because we want to see how short this part is. We know that that short section on this picture is 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to take 3/4 of an inch and we're going to divide it by 3.5 inches, which is the entire height of the bag. And that's roughly 20%. So if I take the entire height of my bag in real life, which we're saying is 8 inches, times 20%, that's 1.6, so I'm going to round down to 1.5. So in real life, this little section right here is going to be 1.5 inches. This section here is going to be 2.75 inches, or 2 3/4 inches. And my entire bag in real life is 8 inches. So if I apply the percentage, measure the picture, figure out the percentage, and apply those percentages to my real life pattern or my real life bag, I will get the same proportions as in this photo. So there's one more thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to inspiration. There are main bag types. For instance, there's bucket bags, there's bowler bags, there's tote bags, there's crossbody bags. And all of them might have specific characteristics for the bag, but generally they're all the same shape. A bowler bag is a specific shape. A bucket bag is a specific shape. So what happens a lot of times is in design, a designer comes out with a new bag or a new top or a new dress, and that's a perfect example. You have these stars that walk the red carpet and they come out in this gorgeous dress, and within a week there's a bunch of different designers who have come out with a dress almost exactly the same. So there's no copyrights as far as copying designs. You can't copy people's patterns, you can't use the exact same thing that they do, but you can take the general idea and change one thing and make it just a little bit different and call it your own. So the same thing applies with bags. So I'm going to show you these photos. Here are 3 photos of a bowler bag. And you can see that the fabrics used, the materials used for all 3 of these bags are very, very different. And look at how it changes the look of the bag. So we have 2 Brahmin here. The black and white with the stripe down the middle is a Brahmin. Also the alligator, embossed alligator, it's probably real alligator, is a Brahmin. And you can see how different those materials are. Same pattern, same bag, just a different look. Then we have a Kate Spade bag, and it is a bowler bag. You can see the angle might be a little bit different at the top of the bag, but for the most part it is the same exact bag. And she used a floral. So as you explore different options for bags, you might want to go online, take a look, and see what the bag looks like in different materials. So your customers a lot of times are going to bring you photos and say, I like this bag, I want this bag. Well, stop for a minute and ask them, what do you like about the bag? Is it the shape of the bag? Is it the materials in the bag? Is it the colors? Is it the style? What exactly is it that you like about it? And sometimes it is our job to present them with different options for that bag, because it may not be in their budget to have a genuine alligator bowler bag or whatever it may be. So use inspiration that is available to us online. Technology is very good to us. We're able to get online, do all kinds of shopping, and take all kinds of ideas from that. As a bag designer, you're going to see that you pay attention to what people carry. You're going to be looking at their bags. So this concludes our series of the Bagmaker's Workroom. I have enjoyed making this for you so much, and actually I've learned a thing or two myself. So share it with your friends. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also follow me on social media on Facebook and Instagram, and join the Simply Classic Inspiration group. We have a lot of product coming to you in the future, and we have makers kits and things available that are going to help you be successful in creating bags. So until next time, happy sewing.